Have you checked out ChevetteReport.com? It's the newest cigar media outlet to keep you in the know with all things cigar lifestyle related. From press releases to reviews, we have it all covered. Be some of our first members to join ChevetteReport.com and be a part of the next step in the cigar culture. ChevetteReport.com.
Welcome in the wonderful up here on the Bob the Cigar Guy YouTube channel and dual stream to the Facebook. Come on over here, say hello to Mr. Charles Adams, Mac, Bergs, Gary, Zanstra, Michael, Zach, the Camping Cigar, Adam Wolf, Sean, Crawley, Sammy, Flo, Matt, Rugger. Who else? Anybody else? Anybody else? Did I miss anybody else? I don't think I missed anybody else. Welcome in to Chief Talk. Get right body. Let me turn the music off, turn the music down. And there we go. Welcome in your faces to another episode of Season 7 here on Chief Talk. And I bring in the illustrious, the sleepy, the tired, the heavy eyes, the I gotta go at 9 o'clock, Bob the Cigar Guy.
All right, so I want to ask all the people in the chat, did it sound like Steven had been watching too much Christopher Walken movies just there with, I need more cowbell? And why you really had a little walk and weave in your words that you was tweaking.
Speaking of walking, I got my walking stick tonight. Liga A tonight. Bob Cigar Guy, what are you smoking? And before you answer, everybody else who's watching currently, what are you smoking? What are you drinking? What are you getting down on? I want to know.
My son very generously gifted me a cigar out of my own humidor.
You lie?
the League of 10 Anniversario
That
Savage Feast
is
that
actually
he pulled out of one of my coffins
No,
and
it's not.
gave to me as a
No,
gift.
it's not. That was at my
With one of my
house, by the
Norteños.
way. Okay, so I gave you a handcrafted pipe, by the way.
But I'm not
I
smoking
made
that.
you a pipe,
You
by
did?
the way. But on top of that, I gave you one of your favorite cigars in the whole entire world, which is a Liga Privada 10 Savage Feast, which was at my house, and it is my last one. I gave you my last one, and I gave you a Norteño because you almost cried.
I did almost cry.
On stream when I talked about the Norteño was being discontinued in this calendar year.
I'm still sad. I'm still sad. I got to reach out to Drew Estate because we do Drew's Day, and I got to tell them, the next 12, 14 weeks of cigars I need, and they send them to me in like a shipment kind of thing. And I'm going to try and talk them into let me do a last Norteño, right? Let me do a Norteño one more time. I know they're not going to because business-wise it makes no sense at all because they're not selling Norteño anymore. But
better to get them out to the people who sell them.
I'm just trying to grab up a little bit left before it's all gone.
Oh, let's see. Is Chief having a stroke? No. Jay Bates, has someone been sipping the Buffalo Trace before the show started? They are, man. Here I am trying to provide them a great show every single week.
You had that Christopher Walken thing going on, though. You really, really did.
No, trying to do a real Thursday night effort, a real Chief Talk effort.
Look, Christopher Walken just paid millions of dollars per movie.
I'm getting slammed in the comments.
Have you ever seen him do his dance video? Christopher Walken dance video? It's some stupid song. You look at one YouTube, Christopher Walken dance video. It is the most hilarious slapstick Christopher Walken kind of thing. It is actually just. You'll watch it 10 times. You'll like it so much.
Check it out. Hey, by the way, we have hit 20 people.
Boom!
Now,
God,
the second show,
8 minutes
in a row, just under 8 minutes.
Yeah. 8 minutes in.
Yeah, and that's with like 3.5 minutes worth of pre-show roll.
Dad,
Matt Brugger's got that brand new Postani Catastrophic Failure. Matt, I am looking forward to hearing your opinion on that cigar. Sammy Flo's eating some pizza, wings,
that's what I'm talking
chilling
about.
With my ladies. No cigar tonight.
Need some of them green beans.
Michael Zakovic's got the Undercrown 10 Ming.
That's Abe's. That's Abe's cigar, right?
Again, cigar. We're at 26 people currently at the moment. So we have already made our record on the year so far. 26 is what we got to last week, or 25 is what we got to last week. 26 is now the record to beat. Camping cigar, Nasty Evelyn cigar, not again. Jay Bates with the Mac attack. I'm always attacked by Mac. Tim Winters, T with a Hoya del Jefe 1890. Chief rocking that $100 A. Is it $100 A?
Probably in the secondary.
This one was not $100.
Probably in the secondary.
But I am rocking with the A for sure. Sammy Flo, still haven't had a Ming. Get on it, Sammy Flo. I haven't either. So, Chief, the Mother Teresa of cigar giving.
I love Mac. Mac is just so
Adam Wolf's eating some Vietnamese food, and then we'll try to smoke an Aladino Sumatra with some Cruzan Blackstrap rum. More cowbell, less Chief.
Oh, Jay.
Be funny when I hit that block button and you can't see Chief.
You need his view.
Matt Brugger, second one I have had, love it, ordered more today. Hey, I'm glad to hear that. I was not a big fan of the Catastrophic Failure, but I do know that Jay Bates is a fan of the Catastrophic Failure. Michael Zakovic, let's hit 30. Yes, sir. We definitely gonna shoot for it this evening. We get there faster by people sharing the streams. Charles Adamson with a Macanudo Emissary España. Nice. The walk and dance video is weapon of choice by Fat Boy
My
Slim.
man Mac coming through with the
amazing.
facts. Oh, it's so funny. It is hilarious. It is so funny.
Jay Bates says, I still haven't had an M81 Pig. You could. I gave you one. So it's not that you don't have one. You have one. You could smoke it. Jay Bates does think the Catastrophic Failure is legit. I wasn't a big fan of it. I was kind of let down by it.
I didn't even smoke mine.
Yeah, you did.
Did I?
Yeah, you smoked it. You said you didn't really.
I got a Palestinian in there, so I'm not a big. I mean, I like his story, I like his vibe, I like his credo, but his blends they're just not my thing.
Oh,
they don't stack on me.
Palestinian made my top 20 list this year.
Yeah, they did.
Which, by the way, so I know we talked about this last week that I was going to try to release my 2020 list over the weekend. I and the rest of my immediate family got hit with that daggum neurovirus. And also, before we go any farther, Charles Adamson, how are you doing over there in Lower California? I hope you're safe and you're not having to worry about evacuation or anything. Hopefully everything's good with you and your family and your friends who are in that area.
You know, New Year's Eve, I was actually shooting my best of 2024 video because I wanted to make sure that I didn't let anything, illness, laziness, lackadaisiness, cause me not to get the content out to the people. Mine's been out for 9 days now. Just saying.
Whoop-de-doo for you. My video is better. Quality's better.
Ain't nobody seen it.
I've seen it.
Everybody who's seen my video in completion, in full production, has seen it.
But no, the video is shot, it is recorded, and I'm currently it's on my computer being edited.
It's gonna take you 2 days to edit with all the stuff you already talked about.
Nah.
With all the little stuff you got to put all over the place and the sparkly.
Oh, I actually put some work into my video, and it's not just me looking at the camera.
Look, you know what? There are tons and tons of people that are in front of the camera that do not do all the editing because their craft is actually creating content, not polishing it. I'm just saying.
And when you see my video, you're gonna be like, man, I wish I'd done my video like that.
No, but I will say that's some good stuff.
The Chief's best of 2026 cigars. That's in 2 more years, buddy.
3.
Thanks for asking. I'm good. We are about 30 miles east of the closest fire. Power was off for 2 days due to wind, but I have a generator. Well, I'm glad you're doing all right. I'm glad you're not currently in any other path of destruction. All of my friends that live in LA, I have now checked on, so I can go back to not feeling bad for not checking on my friends. Obviously, we do keep everybody over there who's affected by these fires and the storm.
Absolutely.
I've seen some videos of just some neighborhoods that are just decimated, man. But I'll say I don't know if it was because some of these houses didn't have foliage in their backyards or whatever.
Yeah, they get passed over.
But I've seen like neighborhoods that are just blocks on blocks on blocks of just burnt down houses, and then there's one house that just looks like it's just chilling. I don't know if they had a sprinkler system going or they just didn't have trees in their front yard, backyard, whatever it be.
They have these fires every once in a while in California, and I always thought that ever since I was a little kid, if I had a place in California, I would have a pool, a generator, a pump, and a sprinkler system that I could snap to my roof and just let it trickle and keep my roof wet, because most of the houses go down because the embers jump so many feet and they land on the roof and they just start burning up the roof. And so
I was watching a guy who had a pump and he had a generator and he was taking the water out of his pool and he was spraying all of the foliage around his house. He didn't have, it wasn't like house. It was just the woods and the foliage up near the ocean coming up against his house. But his house ended up going down because that fire is just so hot. And if you don't have, and he had a decent sized hose, it was, like a return hose out of a pump, pumping water out of your basement or whatever. But if you don't, have enough water dousing, it's gonna just, it doesn't matter.
No,
it's just gonna go. Like watching that movie, Only the Brave, with the hotshot firefighters who were out fighting those fires. And the fire just jumped wind and jumped right over top of them, and fire blankets wasn't enough. It just burn them up. So Bryant, what's up, everybody? How are you doing, brother?
Hey, Bo.
Tim Winters, heat transfer as well.
it jumps from house to house, building to building. So definitely, thoughts and, think about those people over there, praying for the ones affected. And, that's definitely the devastation is big. And, obviously learning, seeing, the devastation around us for the hurricane last year. And, you see it on TV and it's like, man, TV doesn't convey a lick of what it's like. So I can't imagine what it's like over there going through some of those neighborhoods that are just completely gone. So hopefully, everybody had enough time to get out and evacuate and, get away from that whole entire situation. Let's see. The embers blow into the attic vents and burn from the inside. Stogie sister, welcome into the show. How are you doing this evening? Are you working or are you smoking and you drinking? I do want to know. So tonight's show is titled Cigarless. Cigarless everywhere. We kind of talked last week about Cigarless. Bob the Cigar Guy. You had your list, and we talked about it. And I've kind of debated whether or not I want to just talk about my top 20 cigars here tonight, because people are going to go watch the video anyways. Maybe. And everybody who goes and watches that video aren't here watching Chief Talk currently, because there's only 20 people here watching across 2 platforms. Obviously, those videos garner a couple hundred or sometimes a couple thousand views. So I thought it might be fun to kind of talk about my top 20 cigars here tonight. Give a little teaser to those who are, here on the show.
Well, since you were going to talk on that ad nauseum, ad infinitum, and I'm not going to be here ad infinitum, let me plug my 2 things real quick, if you don't mind.
Okay, well, before that, howdy, hey, everyone, just dropping in real quick to say hi. Looking forward to seeing the list. Stream of Tobacco, thank you for dropping in. Love you, appreciate you. Go ahead, Bob.
So tomorrow will be episode 2 of the podcast. I was humbled and overwhelmed on how many people have looked at last week's podcast. This week's podcast is going to be fun and a hoot. And I'm going to tell you, and now watch, Steve, you need to be up on the screen because they need to see your face when I announce what the podcast was. Great. I took the time I do the podcast twice because one time the audio didn't work. I had to come back and do it a second time. And in that podcast, I decided that I was still going to tell my favoriteest story that I love to tell in my life.
Got to be the duck butt story.
It's the duck story. And I'm telling you, Chief has a very small, but a very integral part on what makes this the perfect story. I do believe that this is the perfect story. It has everything you need. Character depth, moments, things you can relate to, humor, stress, and it actually has a moral. It's an amazing story. It's the first 20, 30 minutes of the podcast. I highly recommend you watch it. I'm telling you, it's going to be great and awesome. And now I'm going to tell you about Saturday. And I'm going to let y'all know what nobody else knows except what y'all are going to be watching here, whoever watches it between now and Saturday. Saturday is the second Saturday of this month, which kicks off this year's second Saturday with the First Lady live. First Lady's going to have a show. First Lady loves giveaways. Jay Bates, Mac Berkson, and Sammy Flo. And I told you we're going to do great big giveaways. I talked to Steven. His eyes got big as saucers. But Sarah's first giveaway, you have to be watching to win. You cannot be watching later and win. You have to be present to win. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to do it. We are giving away one of the Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust stone ashtrays, cigars, maybe a beanie, and possibly a mug. This is going to be huge. It's going to be huge. You have to be present to win. You have to be watching to win. And it's going to be worth it. Please, if you have the opportunity Saturday, come and support Sarah and the First Lady. Say, hey, I know she'd appreciate it, and our analytics would as well. So, what time is the podcast? Well, Jay Bates, you know the First Lady. The plan is noon. Now, First Lady is hard to wrangle. The podcast is noon. Oh, the podcast is 5 o'clock. Podcast is 5 o'clock on Friday. It's for the drive home. And that will drop on YouTube because I still can't figure out how to put it on any other platform. And so the podcast is 5 o'clock You don't get to win anything except for a smile and a laugh. Make sure you've gone pee before you listen to it, because you may pee yourself by laughing so hard. I'm telling you. Would you like to reenact the sounds that you made?
I don't.
No, you don't? I didn't think you would.
Remember the sound that was made. So
I do. You'll have to watch the video. You have to watch the podcast. Reminisce. Stephen loves that video. He loves that story.
I mean, it's a funny story.
And it did not paint you in bad light. It's the fact that we told the story at church so many
honestly,
times.
who cares what light it paints me in? I think I was
11.
10?
10, 11. Yeah.
So, I mean, it.
But the story got told so many times because everybody wanted to hear the story. And then some of the people were being buttheads and giving Stephen a hard time about it. And so I think that's why he doesn't have as much affection for the story as I do.
Tim, it'll be here on the Bob Cigar YouTube channel.
Probably noon. Look for around noon.
And it'll be live. It'll be live too, right?
And it'll be 1 hour. 1 hour live.
And that'll be, hopefully there's power here.
Mm.
It is all dependent on power. We are supposed to get a pretty wicked winter storm come through our area starting tomorrow morning.
Do I need power? I can just do it off my phone, which is what I plan to do.
So if you're already going to plan it on your phone, you should be fine.
I plan to put your mom where you're sitting, start off over there with her just to kind of get everything moving. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to pull it up so that I can do the information. And
well, then you will need power.
If that doesn't work. But if I have no power,
I mean, your neighborhood's pretty safe, in the sense of all y'all's power is underground. Y'all did lose power during the hurricane for about a half a day. So there is a possibility you guys could lose power, but it is all dependent on how the weather storm goes. If we're going to get, as much snow and as much ice as they have predicted for our area, there could be some possibilities of the stream maybe not going on. I'm sure if the stream doesn't go on this weekend because of that, they will just push it to the following weekend. Or
we might throw it to Sunday.
Or maybe even Sunday if power is restored and all that. So power out for 2 days. I'm getting hit up on my Apple Watch over here. So yeah, that's exciting. You're gonna. I see that you have your last podcast is titled 001.
Episode 1.
Yeah, but you did podcast last year.
That was a podcast experiment. It's the 5 experiments. This is episode 1.
Are you going to be uploading your podcast to any podcast network?
I don't know how to do it. If I knew how to do it, I would, because I really think that, and I talked about it in the podcast too, I really think that it would draw numbers. It would draw people to our channel. Right. Just by them finding them on their regular Spotify or Apple
But ultimately the goal with your podcast is for people just to be able to cut it on their phone and go about doing their business, not having to watch you.
Absolutely. And I don't know how to split it up like that.
More about just listening to the audio instead of watching the video.
Absolutely.
While you're providing video content, you could get it to where, look, if you're driving and you don't want to actually watch me talk about anything, you want to see any visuals,
right?
This is more of an audio focused.
I just don't know how to do it, and Chief is overwhelmed with a bunch of.
No, I ain't volunteering myself to do that. No way, because I'm not going to be on the hook. I'm not going to be on the hook for that.
If you learned how to do it and you could teach me how to do it to where I could do it, I would do it myself.
Yeah, sure.
If it's not extremely time restrictive and all that stuff.
I'm sure by the end of the year you'll have figured it all out and you'll be across Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, iHeartRadio Podcasts.
I know nothing about it.
I'm sure you'll be across all those platforms with your podcast.
I got no clue.
Bob Ellis made it in. Welcome into the show, Bob Ellis. Hope you're doing all right up there. Is the winter storm coming through up there on you guys, or did you guys avoid a lot of that? I saw Kansas City got hit pretty hard, but I know that's lower than where you are.
It's a big swath.
Yeah, but it's low. It's across a lot of the southern states. So,
and I'll be working at the plant tomorrow.
I tell you what, I bought a bunch of sidewalk salt a couple years ago, ice melt salt, and ran out of it last year and told myself, you probably should go buy yourself another, because I bought like a big bucket of it instead of like a small bag or whatever. Because one thing I don't ever want to do is slip and fall on ice on concrete.
Mm.
I don't mind slipping and falling on some slick snow.
That hurts.
Falling in the grass or whatnot. But you hit that cold concrete, man, your bones are cold. It's like a recipe for disaster.
Absolutely.
And I got, 3 kids that I don't want flipping and falling and breaking bones or cracking their noggins and rattling their brains or whatnot. So I've spent the last 2 days going around to anywhere that sells normally sidewalk salt, see if they have any, and everybody sold out. What I think happened, honestly, is BMW tasked like 50 employees to go and just buy salt.
Well, I'll tell you what, actually, I was out driving on the plant today, and they've already brined the plant roads inside the plant. I saw brine.
No, I'm talking about the sidewalks where employees have to walk, because it's less expensive to buy $20,000 worth of salt than it is to pay out $100,000 lawsuits because of slickery
stuff. I think everybody is so scared from the hurricane that just came through. Everybody, like you were saying, when I got gas tonight, I had to get it in premium because they were out of the other two.
So when I stopped at my son and I stopped at the dump to dump our, because I usually dump on Saturday, but because the weather is supposed to be really bad tomorrow and Saturday, I was like, the dump's gonna be closed. I don't want to get out to the dump, especially if we're all sledding and having fun. Mm-hmm. Let me just go ahead and do it on my way over to my mom and dad's house for Chief Talk. And so my son came with me, and we stopped off at the gas station. And when I pulled in, it was just so many people at this gas station. There's nobody really ever there because they're unleaded, or they're the non-ethanol gas, so they're like 30 cents more expensive per gallon. Nobody's ever at that gas station, and all the pumps were full of people. I was like, oh no. And then as I looked at some of the other vehicles, they were pulling out gas cans.
Right.
So I started calling people, look, you better go get your gas now because you ain't going to be able to get it. And when the hurricane came through and everything shut down, Shannon and I, with the kids in the car, waited over 4 hours to get gas. And then we only had $40 in cash, $20 in cash, and they weren't taking cards because all of the internet stuff was down because of the hurricane ripping up poles and whatnot, so we had to pay with cash. That was weird. I should have pulled out some cash just for
you should always have cash.
Well, the storm's not supposed to really roll in until it's not supposed to start until 8 a.m. tomorrow. So I did call Ace Hardware, the brand new Ace Hardware they just built right down the road from my house today, and they said, yeah, be here at 8 a.m. tomorrow. We're gonna have a truck full of it. So I'm going to go tomorrow, buy a couple buckets.
And you're taking your mom's chainsaw home.
Yep.
By the way, when you get on the ladder to grab the chainsaw, if you look up over the loft here, just look and see if you see any sleds. I don't think there's any sleds up there.
Do you have sleds in your house?
Your mom says there's the better sleds in here.
Oh.
So
I'll take a look. I mean,
if you look up there.
Yeah, I'll take a glance to see if you
don't let the squirrel get you.
Have some sleds. I got that pellet gun and primed it up because when I finished editing, or when I finished shooting my video for the top 20 cigars, Grandma Frampton, what's going on, brother? Cigars Unbanned, what's going on? When I walked out, the dogs were trying to hem up the squirrel. As I pumped that thing up, and I just had it pointing in that corner because I could hear it going out of that corner, down the wall, out of the wall, down the wall. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh man, if I get a line of sight on that squirrel right where I know it's going to walk, I'm just going to let it fly. And unfortunately, I could never get the squirrel to move into my line of sight. But I was trying to get some squirrel.
So it's loaded and
no, I shot it.
Okay.
Do you find the ambient humidity to factor into storage conditions?
Absolutely.
It depends.
If it's a wooden humidor.
Yes. So that's what I was going to say. If it's a wooden humidor, or it's a humidor that you open a lot.
Facts.
The ambient humidity and temperature are definite factors when storing your cigars. If you've got something that's got a really thick seal on it with like a glass door, like we have with our humidors, that like big steel humidor, like a cabinet, that really, the temperature, the humidity not so much because the humidity is not going in and out of that thing a lot. If you've got Tupperware containers, You know, it really doesn't matter in my opinion. Temperature wise, it matters, but the ambient humidity doesn't matter because there's no
if it goes on and off, if it swaps too much, you'll actually sweat in your Tupperware, but you don't usually have that big of a difference in humidity from.
Jay Bates wants to know, Mac, does Milwaukee have a salt spreader like Ryobi does? I wouldn't spend money on a salt spreader because I got 2 hands. So, Michael Carter, Happy New Year. What is going on? What do you keep the ambient at? Well, I mean, when it comes to that, I mean, you pretty much can't control the ambient. Now, in the studio, our ambient sits around that 60% humidity mark. In here, because this is a completely sealed off room, it's insulated,
spray foam,
and then we have an internal fan that processes most of our air in here. So the ambient humidity rarely gets much higher than 65, I would imagine. But in your house, like, how do you really control humidity unless you're now if you have a super damp house and you need a dehumidifier in your house,
if you're in Louisiana,
be careful.
But if you do Bovita packs and you put them in either Travadors, Tupperwares, Humidors, whatever you store your cigars in, if you get that 68 or 70 Humi pack, Bovita pack, if it gets over humidified, it's going to pull it back out. If it's under humidified, it's going to push it out to that number.
That's the great thing about those Humi packs. It's because it's not just Bovita. There's a couple companies who are out there now.
Humi Smart.
And those packs are really great at, if they recognize there's more humidification around the cigars than there's supposed to be, it actually absorbs that extra humidification. Obviously, you want to try to store your cigars in an area where the ambient humidity is not going to affect your stuff very often. So you don't want your ambient to be much higher than 65, probably, because any higher than that, really, then your clothes start to mold or your walls start to sweat or whatever. So
that's true.
If I'm out and about smoking, like outside, I rarely ever care about the humidity.
Well, wintertime, if I'm going to smoke outside, I'll sit my cigar outside for half an hour or an hour before I smoke it.
Well, if I'm going to smoke outside when it's cold like that, I usually just pick a cigar that I don't care it's going to pop on me either. Like tomorrow, if tomorrow afternoon there's 5 inches of snow on the ground and I decide to go out there and smoke a cigar playing around with the kids or whatever, I'm not going to take a Liga Privada A out there. I'm going to take a factory smoke out there. I'm going to take a slaughterhouse out there. I'll take a, something that I really just don't care if it pops on me because of the humidity change.
Well, you get something that's got a Mexican San Andreas or a Pennsylvania broadleaf as your wrapper, you've got a lot less chance of it popping than if you have something thinner, like a shade or something like that. So, I mean, that makes a difference as well. I mean, there's lots of little ways to cheat it. So that you can be successful in smoking your cigar. I grab a heavier cigar, and I'll let it sit out for half an hour to an hour, and then it usually doesn't have a problem. Excuse me.
So
that's attractive.
When it comes to storing my cigars, the ambient temperature, I usually just have my cigars in the area where I don't really have to worry too much about all my cigars are pretty much stored in my closet in my house. I've got a small tower humidor that got a couple hundred cigars in it. It's in my closet underneath all of my wife's jackets. So,
and you don't want to store your cigars right next to an air register,
right, or a window,
or the bright sunny window, or a window that's drafty or something like that. You want to keep closets a real good place to put it, because closets usually run 68 degrees usually, and it's darker in there. It's just not pretty sitting on your clothes.
Right.
So
mine sits on the floor. The clothes sit on top of it. So they hang down on top of it. They're not like piled up on it. I have empty cigar boxes piled on top of it. So I did want to get into my top cigars of the year.
Let me back out now.
Okay.
So you can do your thing.
There you go.
Family, I love you. I'll see y'all tomorrow on the podcast, and I will see you with the First Lady Saturday, hopefully. I'm looking forward to finding out about your list, because I don't know about your list yet. I do know that Rocky Patel made number 1, number 2, number 3. And I think Crowns was rounding out number 4, number 5. Crown's Red, wasn't it? Number 5.
Yeah, definitely below Rocky Patel.
So that was good. That was good. So I got work in the morning. Hopefully we don't get snowed out. So I'll see y'all later. I love you, Chief. Chief talk.
Chief talk. That's back to me. Actually, before we get into that, I do want to make sure that we say a big thank you to our show sponsors, Drew Estate Cigar and Quality Importers, for making sure that you guys have Chief Talk every single week. Always want to make sure that we shout out those because they are the ones that keep the show afloat monetarily, obviously. And what really keeps the show afloat is you guys and gals coming back every week to make sure that we're hanging out and having a good time. Obviously, tonight we've already hit 26 people in one concurrent time. So the goal right now is the first goal is to do it every single show this year. Last year we did 43 shows. With the goal of hitting 40 shows within a year. Obviously, that allows us holidays, travel, being sick a couple times to miss some shows. So we hit 43 last year, 43 shows last year. 41 out of the 43 shows, we did hit the 20-plus number. Now, we did not do 41 weeks in a row. I think we got to like 38 weeks in a row or 34 weeks in a row. And then we had the pre-hurricane show that hit like 18, I think, that night. And then we had one more show not too far before the end of the year that only got up to like 16 or 17. So this year, the goal is to definitely do 100% of the shows that hit 20. We're already in week 2. We've already continued the streak to week 2. The secondary goal is to start getting to counting shows where we hit 30. Tonight we got up to 26 at one point, so we were only 4 off from being able to start that streak. I don't think we'll hit that streak this evening, but if we do, we can start that streak tonight. Now, Bob the Cigar Guy is gone. He did inform me before the show that he did intend to not stay on the show the full time tonight. This week has been a full week work for him. And then, the weeks that he was off from his shutdown, he was here doing stuff at the house. So he really hadn't had a whole lot of time to slow down. So when he said he was tired, I actually thought that he wasn't even going to come out, here to the show at all this evening. But I think he definitely wanted to make sure that he plugged the stuff. His podcast goes out tomorrow again at 5 o'clock, I think he said. And then on Saturday, weather permitting, he and my mom are going to do the giveaway live stream. And I tell you what, it is, he was not lying when he said, when I told Chief what we were giving away, his eyes rolled out of the back of his head. I'm blown away that he is coming up off of the 2 ashtrays that we have to give from Dumbarton Tobacco and Trust. I was blown away that he decided that he was going to part with one of those so early in the giveaway series. So do set aside some time midday on Saturday if you have the ability to come and watch the live stream giveaway, because the only way you can win is if you are present on the stream. So I don't know, maybe don't tell your friends, because the less people that show up to the stream, the better odds you have. I don't know how they're going to go about doing the giveaways, numbers, or however they decide to go. I'm not sure. Asking questions that only people would know certain answers of or whatnot. Maybe that's how they do it. Again, I don't know. He did not give me back my microphone. Oh, yeah, he did. So do make sure that you tune in for that this weekend. I'm sure it's going to be a whole lot of fun. I don't know what the content's going to be other than giving stuff away, but make sure you're there, because that's the only way you can win. Stogie's sister says, so much Carhartt, my eyes hurt. Adam Wolf says, tell Stogie's sister while he's currently sitting in a Carhartt jacket right now. And there's only 2 things of Carhartt. Like, I'm wearing shorts and just like regular, like, ankle socks with my Nike shoes. I only got 2 Carhartt things on this week. Last week I had 3 things on. Yesterday, I was wearing my Carhartt a Carhartt hat, a Carhartt long sleeve shirt, a Carhartt jacket, Carhartt pants, Carhartt long socks, and a Carhartt belt. So it's Carhartt weather season, so you guys can kiss my Carhartt butt. To come back over to my cigar list, I figured why not go ahead and talk about my top 20 cigars of the year tonight because, hey, it's Chief Talk. That's my show. I do whatever I want. But also reward you guys, with being here, being loyal to the Chief Talk empire, the Chief Talk kingdom, the stream. I thought it'd be kind of cool to talk about the top 20 cigars. And again, that video, I hope to have that video go out tomorrow. That's my plan. It's my goal. As soon as I'm done with the stream tonight, I'm going to load up, go home, and work on it once I get home. So I hope to have it completely edited tonight. That's the goal. Because it shouldn't take that terribly long. The hardest part of the whole entire video is just going to be putting, like, the name of the cigar and all the Vitola information up on the screen. It's not hard to do. It's just I've got to go and find all that information off of other websites, right? When it comes to those cigars. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But at number 20, we've got the Zeno Nicaragua. Obviously had Law Ream on the show last year in September, right before the hurricane. The first show of the year last year where we did not hit 20 concurrent viewers. But the Zeno Nicaragua came in at number 20. At number 19 was the Cinco de Cinco from Hoy de Nicaragua. I thought that was a really good cigar. I didn't think it was as good as I had hoped it was going to be. It's not my favorite from Hoy de Nicaragua by any stretch of the imagination, but it was definitely one of my top 20 cigars that I had last year. The cool part about the Cinco de Cinco from Hoy de Nicaragua is it took in the blend for that cigar took inspiration from people who have blended cigars at Hoy de Nicaragua over the years that they've done cigar safaris there to their factory. I had to wet my whistle a little bit. Actually, I've got the band for a Cinco de Cinco right here. Inspired by Amigos, blended by maestros, crafted for those in the know. So I thought that was really cool. That theoretically I have a small piece of data into the blend information on that cigar, because while they may not have chosen any of the tobacco that I selected for my cigars when I blended at Hoy de Nicaragua, the tobacco that I chose to blend for my cigars at Hoy de Nicaragua were, at some point a data point for that blend. Same with Bob Cigar and anybody else who's been to Cigar Safari. At number 18, I had Black Label Trading Company's Orthodox. I enjoyed that cigar a lot. Probably one of my favorite cigars from Black Label Trading. Just above that in 17 was the Blue Eyed Jack's Revenge. Bob Ellis says, I heard they just used Bob's blend. Yeah, you heard that from Bob himself. But here's the thing. It couldn't be Bob's blend because Bob's blend had a Connecticut wrapper on it, which wasn't available for everybody at the thing. He was talking to, it wasn't Juan Martinez. It was like his right-hand man. And they were like, honestly, this cigar might go really well with a Connecticut wrapper on it. And he was like, well, there's not a Connecticut wrapper. And they're like, well, just write it down and we'll make sure it gets put on there for you. So his cigar couldn't be the Hoya blend because their Hoya blend is not a Connecticut wrapped cigar. So I hate to ruin the party there for you, Bob Ellis and Bob Finley, because that couldn't be possible. Let's see. You guys shipped the ornaments, right? Still haven't got mine. Not surprised with the U.S. Yes, they have all been shipped. Yes, all of the ornaments were shipped. But if you don't get it by the next week, let me know and we'll send out another one, just in case. Mac Bergson, we love you, boys. Quit arguing over your homework. Peter Jones, what's going on, P-Face?
So let's come back over here. So the Blue Eye Jack Revenge at 17 from Adventura. Uh, enjoyed that cigar a lot. Actually thought that it was going to make it up higher on my list, but the cigars that made it in front of that cigar as I was going through my top 20 cigars, that it just kept getting pushed down because I was like, oh, that's that. Yeah, I think that cigar is better. Oh, I think that cigar is better. I have not sat down and looked at all of the blend information on all of these cigars. When I do plan on posting my like the review to Chevetta Report, and I also plan on listing out the cigars on Chevetta Report as well. And then what I like to try to do every year is I try to find what was my number one common wrapper, binder, filler, country of origin. This year I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 companies repeat twice. So there are no other companies that got 3. Where in years previous I've had companies get 3 or 4 on the list. So just like last year, I only have I have 6 companies that got on here twice. Some of that is because it was the first time that I've had multiple cigars from that company in the same calendar year. And some of that is because they're just companies that are that freaking good, in my opinion. For the first time on my list, a company that makes it on here twice is My Father with the Fonseca. That made it onto my list this year. JC Newman at 15 with the Angel Cuesta Solomones. So it's the Solomon Vitola, 7 1/4 by 57. I go into more detail as to why that cigar made my list this year. So when the video drops, hopefully tomorrow, you guys will enjoy why that cigar made it onto my list. A company that hasn't made it onto the list in quite a few years, and actually this company made it onto my list twice this year, is the Mil Diaz from Crowned Heads. Really enjoyed that cigar. Supremo Tobacco actually sent me that towards the beginning of the year, or middle of the year, and smoked it and fell in love with it, and I found a couple other and smoked them since. Drew Estate made the list twice this year. The first one is the Dia de los Muertos at number 13. It's a Deadwood cigar by Drew Estate. It is the only cigar on here that is a sweetened tip or infused flavored cigar on the list. And honestly, it's probably the first one of those that has made it on the list in a very long time. Maybe the first time I've ever had a sweet tip cigar, infused cigar on my lists. I have to go back and do some research on that. The first time this company's ever been on my list, and this one was actually a surprise, and the reason it made the list is because it was such a prize. And it's Southern Draws Rose of Sharon, the Casa de Montecristo exclusive. And it is also a Solomon Vitola at 7.12 by 58 ring gauge. I really fell in love with that cigar. Casa de Montecristo sent those out to us earlier in the year. And I think I got 3 of them, and I smoked 2 of them back to back because the first one was just so dang good. At 11 is Postani with the Connecticut. Postani made my list last year, and I think it was either number 11, number 12, or number 13 last year with the War Bear Wotec. And it was a cigar that I smoked right at the end of the year last year. And so I had that cigar at the Postani booth at PCA this year. Too much talking, none of smoking. Peter Jones says, why you gotta be calling out BTCG like that? You know how it works, baby. You know the drill at this point. I don't have to warn. I don't have to tell you guys how it works anymore. But no, the Postani Connecticut was the cigar that they gave us to smoke when we did our interview with him at PCA. And I actually asked for a second one because I was like, man, that was so good. I want to actually sit and enjoy this thing and really take it in. And gracefully, they gave me another one to smoke. And it made my list this year at number 11.
Jumping into the top 10, Hoya de Nicaragua comes back on the list with the Classico Original, or Original. I'm not sure exactly how they would want to pronounce it. But that cigar was really, really freaking good. Really enjoyed that cigar. My father makes it back on the list again at number 9 with the La Gran Oferta. Loved that cigar. My favorite cigar from my father, hands down, no problem. Alec Bradley makes it on the list in a consecutive year. Alec Bradley, maybe it wasn't last year Alec Bradley made the list. Was it last year? I can't remember if the Gatekeeper and the Kintsugi was last year or the year previous. It might have been the year previous. But Alec Bradley makes it on the list with 2 companies this year. No, Brian, so surprised. Yeah, I'm, and you and I have had this conversation many times. Michael Carter, do we have any more ornaments? Yes, we do. They are still on the website. The only link in the description, and then you go to the website, go to the top of the page, and click the merch tab, and that's where the ornaments are. So yes, we do still have the ornaments. Would love the big sucker squatch. Yeah, it's actually right there. It's usually off over here, where you. Well, I guess it's actually been there for a few weeks now. So let's see. But no, I made sure it was in the video today for my top 20 cigars. You'll see it when the video drops, hopefully tomorrow. But Alec Bradley makes it on the list with the Safe Keepings cigar. Love that cigar. Such a good cigar. Really enjoyed that cigar. Love the artwork on that band. Probably one of my favorite artworks to date on a cigar band. It just feels magical for me. Drew Estate's second cigar on the list at number 7 is the Blackened Pig, the Blackened M81, the Maduro Pig. I kind of felt bad at first when I knew I was going to include this on my list because it was only available at Barn Smokers. But in December, I saw like 3 or 4 cigar shops were selling these cigars. So they are available to the public. And I don't know if they're still available, but they were available to the public. So I didn't feel nearly as bad putting it on my list this year. Number 6, Crowned Heads again. Surprise, surprise. With the Coroneta Maduro. Great cigar. Got the cigar at PCA at a pre-party and waited until I got back home to smoke it. I knew I didn't want to smoke it at the pre-party. Is actually that pre-party and the JC Newman pre-party were at the same exact time, and we wanted to go. The PCA pre-party was like everybody at PCA. The JC Newman pre-party was just the media pre-party. So we jetted out of the media PCA or the PCA party to go to the JC Newman media party. And so I didn't smoke. I did not want to smoke it at the PCA pre-party because I knew I wouldn't have enough time to smoke it. So ended up waiting until I got back home, and I'm glad I did. Number 5 is a cigar that I have raved about, and it's Alec Bradley's Chunk Maduro. Fantastic cigar. It surprised me with how good that cigar was. I shouldn't be surprised at this point with Alec Bradley in my palate because, again, the Kintsugi and the Gatekeeper were 2 of my favorite cigars a couple years ago. Love those blends. I feel like they're blended basically for me. So super happy with that. Now, I'm sure you're all wondering, possibly, where in the heck is the Foundation Cigars? Where in the heck is the Dumbarton Tobacco and Trust? We haven't seen them on the list. But yeah, surprised I like the Solomon. Yeah, I usually hate the Solomon by Tola. Double Broadleaf, trash. Hate it. Can't stand it. Jay Bates, Chief, one of the lucky ones with the M81 Pig. Oh, what? Jay Bates has one. I gave him one. I gave Jay Bates one. Don't get me triggered. So Dumbarton Tobacco and Trust's first entry to my top 20 cigar list is at number 4 with the Sin Compromiso Robusto. This was the first year where I put cigars on my list that I had smoked blends that I have smoked in previous years and even rated in previous years. But this is the first time where Vitolas have come into effect. And we talked about this a little bit last week on the show about, well, you know, why have you not done it that way, or why are you doing it this way? You know, cigar makers a couple years ago blew up with so many cigar blends. It was like, oh my goodness, there's so many cigars to really try. And then last year, so many people just came out with new Vitolas of blends that they've had before. And so if I had said, well, you know, I don't want to have this, you know, this blend on my list because I put it on a list before, but it's a different Vitola, because we all know Vitolas make a difference in flavors. Honestly, one cigar, what is it? 2 cigars, 3 cigars, 4 cigars. 4 cigars on my list would not have technically been able to make the list if that's how I had continued to do it. But because the Vitolas, they are completely different cigars. And so going forward, that's how I'm gonna start doing things. So went ahead and flexed that muscle this year, going into how I'm going to do my lists going forward. I hate the word lists. Putting that extra S after the ST is a nightmare for Mike Tyson. At number 3, the first of the podium standers, is Padron with the 1964 anniversary of the number 4, which is a 6x6.5 monster. Love that cigar. First time I've ever rated a Padron. Not the first time I've ever had Padron. It's the first time I've ever rated Padron, because every time I've had Padron previous to now has not met that standard to me. You know, if you think of cigars that are supposed to meet certain standards, you think Padron, Fuente, Davidoff, right? And you say, well, those are super expensive cigars. They're cigars that have been around for many decades, companies that have been around for decades. Some of those blends have been around for more decades than cigar companies that are very popular have even been around. And so I've never, ever rated a Padron, because every time I've ever had a Padron, it's just been, you know, lackluster for me. But the 1964 anniversary number 4, again, a 6x6.5, blew my socks off. It's the last new to me cigar I smoked. Last new to me cigar that made the list. I did try a handful of cigars to end out the year that did not make my list at all this year. So at number 2 is the Umbagog Bronzeback from Dumbarton Tobacco and Trust. So Dumbarton Tobacco and Trust does not make number 1 this year, but it makes number 2 and number 4. So not bad. On the podium and then just off the podium. And then number 1 is the Wise Man Maduro from Foundation Cigars. I had such a hard time deciding back and forth between the Wise Man Maduro and the Umbagog Bronzeback that it literally came down to a coin flip for me of who was going to take number 1. Both of those cigars are the best cigar I smoked last year. And they're 2 completely different cigars, but they are both just fantastic, wonderful, just knock your socks off cigars. If I was going to suggest you 2 cigars from this list, it's the top 2. And it's not even close. As well as that Padron was, as well as that Pausani was, the Hoya Classico, the Black Label Trading Company, Orthodox, any of the Solomon cigars I put on there, doesn't come close to me suggesting cigars. And I will suggest those cigars going forward through the end of time. Those are cigars. We talked about that last week, how Bob the Cigar Guy, part of the metric that he wanted to have on his list was, is my list full of cigars that are going to stand the test of time? And for sure, in my opinion, those 2 cigars are the ones that are definitely going to last the test of time. What's the price difference between your top 2? I don't know. I can't imagine it's too much. But let me go to a place where I can check prices on these said sticks. Let's see. This pack of 10 is $8.45 a piece, so $84.50. So that's my number 2 cigar. And then let's look at this one. And 18. So actually, it's not that far because a pack of 20, which I imagine means box, is $189. So that means that a pack of 10 would be, what, just over $95. And so that means each cigar will be about $9. So it's $1 difference between number 1 and number 2. So number 2 is $1 cheaper than number 1. Do I like the new Wiseman Maduro versus the original? I like the original, but this one, I never rated the original nearly as high as I rated as the current Wiseman Maduro. I like this one way more. Is that the California $4? Great top 2 choices. Love both of them. Thanks, Neil. Both great sticks. Yes, sir. The 1964 is awesome. Try the Padron Black. I'll have to look. I'll have to look for that. The next time I'm looking at a selection of Padrones. It definitely did get my. It did pique my interest, and I think that cigar, the Padron, is my most expensive cigar on the list. When I do my list, I'm going to link where to buy them on the website. And I want, as I'm looking at all of these things, yeah, I want to say the Padron's the most expensive cigar, and I think that was $23 for the cigar. Sin Compromiso is probably not that expensive, even though it's a Robusto. So, the least expensive cigar on here, probably the Zeno Nicaragua. The Angel Cuesta might be the most expensive, actually. I don't know how expensive that cigar is off the top of my head. I don't know how expensive the Rosa Sharon is either. I would say the most budget friendly is probably the Zeno Nicaragua, then maybe one of the Alec Bradley cigars, and then the Umbergard Bronzeback. In that range. Single price versus 10 back. No, so none of them were single. I was breaking prices down. It was a 20 pack, and so I split it in half to 10, and then I split it into 10s to make one price, right? So if the 20 pack is $190, $95 get you to that $190 mark. So that's $19.50. So you're looking at $9.50 a stick versus the Umbergard Bronzeback, which had a 10 pack and at $84, and so you're looking at $8.40 a piece. Sorry. Tex Taurus, what is going on? Got a CEO Brasilia burning. That's what I like to hear. I do believe, I know Bon Cigar Guy put the CAO cigars on his list. I think he took my cigars from PCA because I didn't get the chance to smoke any of those cigars, and I wanted to smoke them. And I think he smoked them all. So I'm going to have to try to get some more of those cigars this year, and maybe they'll make my list this coming year. So, The past 2 years I've had cigars on there that because Night Commander made my list last year, just didn't make it nearly as high. That's a $40 cigar, $40+ cigar. And then the year before that was the Senator at number 1, and that was a $33 cigar. So I didn't get. I don't think the Angel Cuesta, that could be an expensive cigar. Let's see. Well, where's the Solomonas? Okay, so the Solomonas is $23.29. So that probably is my most expensive cigar. Let's see. And then this is box of 20s right at $500. So $25 for the cigar. It's a little under $25 because it's not exactly $100. So yeah, the tie it looks like is between the Padron 1964 and the Angel Cuesta from J.C. Newman. Both of them being north of $20 a cigar. So it's still not a bad price list, in my opinion. I do want to make sure to say big thanks to Jay Bates and Adam Wolf for the love over on Facebook. Steve Barrett, Claymore, Jane Smith, Christopher Powell, Trillo Thornton, Mac Bergson, Sharon, and Matt Brugger, and 3 more for hitting the like button over on Facebook. Charles Adamson, I get the Vitola thing. I have bought Toros of some Robustas I really like, and they're not the same. Yeah, and that's my thing too. Is like they're like when it comes like the H99 is like my best argument for that because there's just so many different Vitolas for the H99. The H99 has the Super Ancho, which is 6x60. It has the Phineas Gauge, which is a Lancero. It's got the H99 Papas Fritas. It has the H99 Toro, H99 Robusto, H99 Pig. So it's like all those cigars don't smoke anywhere near the same. And like me, I'm not a big Phineas Gauge fan. I'm not a Lancero fan in most of the respect. And so when it comes to going with Vitolas now it's actually kind of more of a safety blanket for me going forward to make sure that, because like with having, again, show sponsored by Drew Estate, right? With having a show sponsored by Drew Estate, that means that we, in the channel being sponsored by Drew Estate, it means that we have the unique opportunity to be supplied by a sponsor, which means that we get a lot of, Drew Estate stuff in. It also means that when Drew Estate comes out with new stuff, we usually get a stab at it because they want us to be able to put that information out on the internet of how it's, the taste or what it looks like and what it smokes like and all that good stuff, and catch the hype and spread the hype for people to go around and find those cigars at their local humidors. And so if Drew Estate this year comes out with, I don't know, a new Herrera Brazilian, right? That blue band Herrera. Let's say they come out with a new Vitola in that blend. I have smoked that blend hundreds of times in the past, but if it becomes my very first or my very best favorite of the Herrera line, coming forward, I want to rate that cigar on the list. It's a brand new Vitola. It's a brand new cigar. It smokes better than any Brazilian's ever smoked for me, going, in the past. I want to be able to give that cigar a shot. I want to be able to give it its glory. And so going ahead and just going to start this year with, cigars that I smoked in the past, but just not that Vitola, it just made sense to go ahead and include those cigars on my list. When I sat down, I think I had 36 or 38 cigars that I had cataloged through different means of media, whether it be my phone pictures or posting on Instagram or posting on Discord or writing it down in a notebook. I had, I think, 36 or 38 new to me cigars last year that I could find that I smoked. I think I smoked more. I just have forgotten those cigars. And so, one, I need to get better at remembering and writing down and cataloging what cigars I smoked throughout the year. Two, I had more than 20 cigars to go off of this year. So I could have said, let's not do these cigars that are just new Vitolas to me and just do completely new blends. But as I started looking, like I said, I think I have 5 cigars on my list this year that are new to me because of Vitolas. I would have had to have chosen 5 other cigars that were on that list. While I had enough of cigars to put on that list, I had some cigars on that list that were some absolute stinkers, man. Some bombs. And there was a chance that if maybe I hadn't smoked enough cigars, I would have to include some of my bombs on my list. But I can confidently say this year that all 20 of these cigars are cigars that I would recommend at any moment's notice. I like my number 20 through number 17 aren't like, I really wouldn't smoke those again. No, all 20 of these cigars I would recommend and smoke. So, new Vitola, new deal. She gets me. What else? I am interested, as I compile the data, to put the article up on the website. I am interested to see like country of origin wrappers, binders, and stuff like that. I really don't count the fillers because some cigars could have up to 5 or 6 fillers, right? So that could really skew the data. But when it comes to wrappers and binders, I don't think any of my cigars had a double wrapper on it. Double binders are probably bound to happen with some of these cigars. And then countries of origin, Nicaragua always takes the cake when it comes to country of origin for me. Even when I was just doing 10 cigars years ago. I say years ago. This is my second year doing 20. Nicaragua always takes the cake. And the Dominican usually ends up coming in second. This year, I do, just off of the top of my head, let me look at my list and see some countries of origin here. I definitely have Hoyta, Nicaragua. So that's Nicaragua. Black Label Trading is Nicaragua. Aventura might be I think that's the Dominican. My father, not completely sure. JC Newman is America. Crowned Heads, not for sure. Drew Estate, Nicaragua. Southern Draw, not completely sure. Pastani is Nicaragua. Hoyta, Nicaragua, again, Nicaragua. I've got my father. Alec Bradley, I'm not sure either. Drew Estate, Nicaragua. Crowned Heads, not sure. Alec Bradley, not sure. Dumbarton Tobacco and Trust, Nicaragua. Padron, not sure. Dumbarton, Nicaragua. Foundation, Nicaragua. So Nicaragua, just off of the top of, just looking at these, obviously is the number one leading country here, which Bob and I have always said that Nicaragua is the cigar capital of the world. But it is cool to see America back on the list again. They were on the list last year with JC Newman. So that'll be interesting to see, what the wrapper, my favorite wrapper was this year. What was it? The Ecuadorian Habano has been my favorite wrapper. I think 2 years running now. When I started
looking at wrappers when I started keeping that data too, because the Ecuadorian Habano was like 8 of my 10 2 years ago. Ecuadorian Habano, I think, tied last year for number 1. So it'll be interesting to see if Ecuadorian Habano makes a peep again this year on the cigar list. Again, I have not sat down and looked at all of that data yet. I do plan. I don't know when the Chevette Report article is going to go up. Again, we've got this pretty wicked snowstorm that is going to come through tomorrow. It starts tomorrow morning, but it's not supposed to pick up until later, and then Saturday. So even if it's not like a storm where things are bad, I got 3 kids who are going to want to make snowmen and sled and snow forts and all sorts of stuff. And I'm a kid at heart. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time doing that stuff. So I don't know when the Chevette Report article is going to go out. My goal is to, as soon as I leave, or as soon as Chief Talk ends tonight, pack up the stuff that I want to take home and then go home, work on my list or work on my video, and then have it go up tomorrow so that it's available for everybody to watch. The Chevette Report article may go up on Saturday. It might go up tomorrow. Just kind of depends on how everything goes with the weather. But the goal is to 100% get the article up on Chevette Report at some point, just because I want to see all that data and I think it's interesting, and I would love for you guys and gals to be able to see that data. And maybe you like a lot of the same cigars that I do, and it's just I make it easier on you to find that data. Sammy Flo says, do you usually get a lot of snow yearly, or is this a recent thing with the bad storms? Justin, my man, what's going on? Sammy, so we don't normally get a lot of snow. And when I say a lot of snow, I think of like, snow that either happens a lot or snow that sticks around for a while. We primarily get really bad ice storms every year. We don't get a lot of snow. And sometimes when it snows, it's just enough to kind of cancel school, and it's there to, sit in the ditches for a couple weeks in the shade, and then it's gone. But nothing stays on your lawn or on the roads or anything for more than a few hours. What we've been told for the past 2 weeks about this storm is it has the potential to dump anywhere from, like, I've heard some say 2 to 5 inches, and I've heard some say 5 to 10 inches, and then followed up with some freezing rain. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? I'm calling it a storm because everybody's been calling it a storm. I do want to get, I do want to go out early tomorrow and try to find some of that salt melt or ice melt salt tomorrow, just because I do have a long driveway and I do have a long walkway into the house. And if we're going to be out and about, because it is cold, and so the snow is going to somewhat melt during the day because it gets up to like 40 degrees for the next few days, but then it goes right back down to the 20s overnight. So everything that's wet is going to freeze. So that's like the dangerous part of it. And we don't have the infrastructure really to handle a lot of the snow like you guys have, like a plow truck for every 10 people. We've got a plow truck for every 10 city blocks or whatever it is. I mean, so we're like, they'll go out and they'll salt the roads. I'm sure they've already salted the roads tonight, and they'll have some standby stuff. But I think the thing that a lot of people are worried about is that for the past week it's been cold here, and so the ground is cold, which means when everything starts to fall tomorrow, it's not going to be like a normal traditional snow for us where the ground's not super cold and the snow doesn't stick first and it takes a long time to stick to cool everything down and then it starts to snow. Because our ground's been cold, our ground's pretty much ready and primed to accept snow from the first few flakes. So we'll see. It is supposed to have some freezing rain on the backside of it.
And then Michael Carter, thanks for hanging out with us, brother. You guys are built for it. Been cold up here. I think we were getting some of that snow on Saturday. Yeah, I saw that the storm's going to like whip through us and then hit the Atlantic and then go back up. So hopefully everything's good with you guys. Obviously, you guys are built for it. Like you guys, your infrastructure is in, the responses that you guys have are, ready for that kind of stuff. So, and it'll be interesting to see how it goes. See how much snow dumps. I would love to see a bunch of snow dump, just because we don't see a lot of snow like that. We haven't seen snow in almost 2 full years down here, at least where I live. And so, it'll be. It won't technically be Shepard's first snow, but it'll be the first snow that he can play in. And then this will be the first snow where I think Jackson might actually be able to make a snowman. So we'll see if it's even snow that we can make snowmen out of, right? I hope it is. I would love to be able to do that. Hopefully get some time to sled and play before it gets too cold and too wet and people start freezing. But I am looking forward to it. Just want to, basically get home and stay home and not have to worry about being out and about, right? So without further ado, we are going to go ahead and end the show here at almost 9:40. Thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. If you are in the path of the winter storm or the fires over in California, please do be safe. I want to see all of your faces popping up in the chat next week. I will be starting here soon, reaching out to people to start coming onto the show, like manufacturers or blenders or personalities or whatever in the industry, to start coming on the show. That is one of the goals this year, is to have more personalities for interviews here on the show. Diana Burns says, so sorry, I forgot today was Thursday. Good evening, everyone. Diana Burns. Hopefully all of your test stuff went well with your tax stuff. Thank you for hanging out with us this evening for the short period of time that we're here. Photos de Puros, love you. Supreme Tobacco, love you. Love you all. So thanks for hanging out with us. And which one are we going to play first? I'll see you next week.
Have you checked out ChevetteReport.com? It's the newest cigar media outlet to keep you in the know with all things cigar lifestyle related. From press releases to reviews, we have it all covered. Be some of our first members to join ChevetteReport.com and be a part of the next step in the cigar culture. ChevetteReport.com.
Time to relax. Whew. Man, I'm beat. Whew. What are you doing? What are you doing here? Show's over. Go home. Go home. Show's over. What are you waiting for? You waiting for another show? This is a one-ticket entry. Go. Bye. Go. Go. Go.